January 20th, 2009, Barack Obama, Africa's son and first black-skinned president of the United States, takes oath of office.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will execute the office of President to the United States faithfully and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Expectations were high, the world celebrated, and Africa was seized with joy. Kenya, the ancestral home of President Obama, was agog with jubilation and anticipation, and President Obama spoke of a new moment of promise for Africa during his visit to Ghana.
I've come here to Ghana for a simple reason. The 21st century will be shaped by what happens not just in Rome or Moscow or Washington, but by what happens in Accra as well. Africa's future is up to Africans. The people of Africa are ready to claim that future. And here is what you must know. The world will be what you make of it. You have the power to hold your leaders accountable and to build institutions that serve the people. You can serve in your communities and harness your energy and education to create new wealth and build new connections to the world. You can conquer disease and end conflicts and make change from the bottom up. You can do that. Yes, you can. Because in this moment, history is on the move, but these things can only be done if all of you take responsibility for your future. And it won't be easy. It will take time and effort. There will be suffering and setbacks, but I can promise you this: America will be with you every step of the way, as a partner, as a friend.
Nearly 4 years into his presidency, Africa remains as inconsequential as ever. Many in North Africa and Middle East wonder what became of Obama's vow in a landmark 2009 speech at the University of Cairo to forge a closer relationship with the Muslim world. In the entire African continent, hopes still linger. In a world weary of war and economic crisis and concerned about global climate change, the consensus is that Obama has not lived up to the lofty expectations that surrounded his 2008 election and Nobel Peace Prize a year later.
We are at war. I'm responsible for the deployment of thousands of young Americans to battle in a distant land. And some will kill, and some will be killed. And so I come here with an acute sense of the costs of armed conflict.
In Mogadishu, Somalia, citizens wish President Obama had sent more economic assistance and fewer armed drones to fix Somalia's problems. According to reports, Somali citizens retain a shaken support for Obama, but disapprove of the mounting casualties from U.S. drone attacks on Somalia's Al-Qaeda-linked insurgency, while the country's humanitarian need is neglected. Many in Africa and perhaps other regions of the world were also taken aback by his support for gay marriage, a taboo subject among religious conservatives.
For a lot of people, the word marriage was something that evokes very powerful traditions, religious beliefs, and so forth. But I have to tell you that over the course of several years, as I talk to friends and family and neighbors, when I think about members of my own staff who are in incredibly committed monogamous relationships, same-sex relationships, who are raising kids together, when I think about those soldiers or airmen or Marines or sailors who are out there fighting on my behalf and yet feel constrained, even now that Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone, because they're not able to commit themselves in a marriage. At a certain point, I've just concluded that for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
In the midst of the 2012 presidential campaigns, what is Obama administration's African policy? What difference does it make to have an African as legitimate occupant of the White House? Egypt's UN ambassador Majid Abdelaziz provides an assessment.
Much could be done to the Africans. I mean, the Obama administration did not fulfill 100% of what they had for the Africans, but they, I would say, fulfilled 75 to 80% of what the Africans demands from them. But of course, they had to pay attention to other parts of the world, and they had to pay attention to some other demands by other regions, and to the rising problems like and taking into consideration also the effects of the financial and economic crisis, the food crisis, the energy crisis, all those crises that limit the ability of the United States of doing what maybe the administration would have wanted to do. We're not relieving them from their responsibility to Africa, and we would always say that we expect more to be done to African countries. But what I'm saying is that what they have been implementing as administration is good, but it could get better.
What are, in specific ways, what are the shortfalls of Obama's Africa policy?
The shortfalls of the Obama administration is the four shortfalls. First, related to the issue of dedicating 0.7% of the GNP for support as ODA, as official developmental assistance. The United States does not recognize this, and even though they are spending more on certain countries in bilateral aid, but they do not follow the pattern of 0.7% for developing country in ODA. And they do not, they give support bilaterally to LDCs. You know, out of the 48 countries LDCs, we have 39 countries from Africa. And the fact that 0.15% of the GNP should have gone to the Africans LDCs as well, this did not really materialize, or you cannot capture it. Maybe the money is spent, but it is not being put within the implementation of this particular one. Other issues are related to the implementation of the MDGs. I mean, I think that there could have been a lot better support for the achievements of the MDGs, particularly poverty eradication in Africa, which there is much more attention to AIDS, HIV, to chronic diseases, to maternal health, to child mortality. But on the issue of poverty, we need a lot of attention to be done, to be given to Africa, which I think the United States, even though they're shifting into giving more attention in this regard, they need to do more of that.
As President Obama seeks a second term in office, and with formidable Republican challenger, Governor Mitt Romney, every vote counts. Both candidates are courting votes of all Americans, but none considers as significant the votes of Africans in America. Dosso Kasimu, Chair, Africa Commission, Office of the Mayor of Newark, New Jersey.
The African vote, typically, very few vote. They're not motivated. They're not part of the process. So very few vote. I mean, we just have to say like it is. Like it is, most of us are now involved in the process. So what I learned, especially from this great country, America, is that you need to show your worth. You need to go get what you think you deserve. This is about coming to a global community. You found many community. You may probably came late like myself, but you had to go through the system to make sure that the people know that you are valuable, that you count, that you matter, which is numbers.
Exactly.
So our folks, very few Africans will probably participate in a political campaign, either wear a t-shirt here in America or knock door or canvas. They will say, well, I got my job, I got to go to this work, I got to do. So they don't see the bigger picture. And then once in a while, a community organizer, you get sad. But after you took it back, you say, no, I can't be sad. Let's find strategy. So trying to get some strategy. Actually, last time I got a couple women that came to the campaign office. never did anything, don't mean nothing. They were there. They walked the clipboard. So all these are signs of positive aspect of it. But the thing is, we have to stop thinking that the people should care too much about us, that we should care about ourselves. We should forget about being sorry for ourselves. I don't think about people should be sorry for us. If you're African, I don't think even appropriate for Obama to say, oh, there's no African vote, period. Why should we say, oh, I'm preaching to African? This year he's been trying, I think it was, I think it's Maryland. They appointed one African guy probably to govern as an African community down in Columbia, this is the Columbia area. But the truth is, we have to help Obama too. Because we can't just want Obama to say something. What do you want Obama to say? African vote, it's not just about Obama. When you go on the TV, this election, people I watched last time, the TV was saying, oh, the Latino will make a difference in this election. I want the people to say, oh, the continental African will make a difference. And we can make a difference. And my policy is even you guys, for everybody, all of you wonderful people who are doing this project, is to come with some type of strategy how we can have a roster of people that can vote. Myself, I want to know how many Africans can vote. Because you're talking about this country, it's about vote. Yeah. It's about vote. So Africans need to start to realize that America is a country where you have to be a go-getter. If we show our worth that our vote matter, which means let's bring our people out when we do the festivals, in numbers and thousands, and among them we have even if you have 2,000 people that can vote clean, you have a roster of 2,000 Africans that can vote. Trust me. Not only Obama will say let's cheap on African.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody will say let's cheap on African.
It's all about the Latino votes. Democrats and Republicans jostle for votes ahead of the November presidential election. Latino votes, arguably the fastest growing electorate, are up for grabs. Immigration is the bait for the voting bloc.
As president, I won't settle for stopgap measures.
And what's also needed is immigration reform that finally lives up to our heritage as a nation of laws and as a nation of immigrants, and continues the American story of renewal and energy and dynamism that's made us who we are.
Another significant voting bloc is the Jewish votes. Democrats and Republicans recognize the power of Jewish people in the political and economic fortunes of America. Subsequent American administrations quibble at the intractable Palestinian and Israeli peace process because of the influence of Jewish lobby on American politics, an affirmation of former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad's allegation in 2003 that the Jews rule this world by proxy, unquote.
Most American presidents, and I would say including Obama, may not take any stand against Israel without losing considerable support in the US itself. The Israeli lobby in the US is truly powerful, and they can determine who wins and who loses in elections.
Whereas immigration is the core issue of interest for Latino community, the security of the Jewish state is a common concern to the Jews in the United States. What is Africa's agenda? Nelson Mesone is the Gabon ambassador to the United Nations.
I can, for example, take one sector or one domain which is priority for Gabon is environment, all the issues of protection of Central African tropical forests. You know that President Ali Bongo Ondimba has articulated a development vision resting on 3 pillars: developing industry, developing the service sector, and developing what he called Green Gabon. With respect to the environment, we have benefited from U.S. assistance in various ways, not only with
done with protection of Central African tropical forest, but also in capacity building, training Gabonese in the environmental sector. These are some of the areas that we, for example, benefited from as part of U.S. government policies. I don't speak of what private investment could be, because private investment doesn't really depend on what the government does as part of its policy.
Egypt's UN ambassador, Magid Abdelaziz, offered some perspectives on the status of Africa under the Obama administration.
There is no unified position from the African standpoint or from the Arab standpoint that can create a strong lobby that can really attract the candidates for presidency or for Congress or for Senate to come to seek our support and to ask for our votes in their election. And that is for so many reasons. One reason of them, which is the most important one, is the financial influence and the fact, and the second reason is the control of the media and of means of communication that we don't possess. So we have to increase our ability to influence more through using lobbyists, through establishing our own channels, through having our own means of communications, and through ensuring that wherever we live, even as a small minority, we matter, and we have to be approached, and we have to be asked for our vote in order to give our votes to whomever we would like to give our votes.
The insignificance of Africa in America in relation to the election of political office holders in the United States is so evident. The reasons are not far-fetched. Majority of African immigrants are too preoccupied with the pursuit of American dream, weighed down by demands of relatives in their home countries and adjustment in Western societies. Africans in America have little or no interest in civic engagement in the United States. Other commentators point to fledgling democratic experience in Africa to support the lethargy or lack of interest among African immigrants towards political activities in the United States.
I think it's a miss of communication and language barrier. If they explain us the way Africans have to vote, communicate with us, make us understand what is going on, be in touch with them, I think they can vote. Explain them what to do, they can vote. We want to vote, but if they don't understand what to do or we are not getting in touch, it's difficult for them. Why? Because the language barrier and communication, miss of communication, and most of the time Africans don't get involved of many things too.
Process in America.
People, Africans in America, they are very, very enthusiastic about the political system in America. But the other way is that they don't participate in the American system by voting, registering. That's one of the things. And that left us behind, left the whole African countries behind, because nobody is canvassing for their votes. But if you look at it, there are a lot of Africans in this country that are qualified to vote. And the number can make a difference in any election in America. So those are these are some of the factors. Our people probably they have seen that probably their vote don't count, or no matter what, who wins or who don't win, everything will be equal for everybody. So that's why.
Because we are not together. Okay, if we are together now, that was what I want to implement last couple of years in California. So when we have African Republican organization now, then I'll be able to invite some Republican party to come in to speak with us. Or if we have a grassrooted, they come in and talk to us, So we're not together. If we are together now, that would be something different.
Intense political participation of citizens in most African countries is poor and constitutes a drag to Africans when they migrate to Western countries. Some of them are timid, unfamiliar with democratic culture, uneducated, undocumented, and uninterested in civic activities. Clearly, America's election cycle provides a veritable platform for pushing issues of interest to the African diaspora community in the United States, and indeed the 54 countries that make up the African continent. The Obama administration launched a strategy for Africa promising to strengthen democracy and encourage economic growth through trade and investment.
Well, just look at Africa today. One of the fastest growing regions in the world, home to 6, soon to be 7 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies. In the past decade, trade between Africa and the rest of the world has tripled. Private foreign investment has surpassed official aid, and it will surely keep rising. Because, and I want all of my fellow American citizens, particularly our business community, to hear this. Africa offers the highest rate of return on foreign direct investment of any developing region in the world. In fact, it is the only developing region where the growth rate is expected to rise this year. The middle class is growing, consumer spending is increasing, urban centers are becoming vital economic hubs. Well, we in the United States like to talk about ourselves as the country that is the land of opportunity. It's a point of national pride. Well, in the 21st century, Africa is the continent that is the land of opportunity. And I salute all of you who have contributed to this progress.
Under the Obama administration, the U.S. has expanded its military footprints and its secret intelligence operation across Africa, establishing a series of small bases from which to launch spy missions and drone strikes on groups like Al-Shabaab in Somalia. U.S. troops have also been deployed, particularly in Uganda, where they are searching for Joseph Kony, the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA. The security challenges in Africa include hunger, poverty, and predatory behavior of leaders of the continent, key factors responsible for the exodus of Africans to the West and other regions of the world. African cultural associations in the United States are engaged in lots of activities, including fundraising to support good governance and reduction of poverty. Few of the African cultural organizations focus on civic engagements of their members to encourage them to participate in the political process in the United States. It is an irony that while U.S. organizations participate in monitoring elections in Africa, there is probably no organization with an African background that monitors American election or encourages African immigrants to get involved in elections. What will a second term of President Obama mean to Africa?
There are a number of priorities that most African countries have: education, health, agriculture, and other priorities. And I think there are ways in which Africans of the diaspora can assist with meaningful and realistic, concrete ideal projects in these different areas: education, health, agriculture, and so forth.
One of the first speeches in the Middle East and in Africa even was the Obama speech in Al-Azhar University in Cairo. And that was a message to Africa, to the Arab world, and to the Muslim Ummah that was made by President Obama, and we highly appreciate this as this was the first trip. And then, of course, he went to Saudi Arabia, and then he went to Kenya, and then he went to many other places. But that was the first step to our African soil, and that is how we appreciate it. On the political front, we feel that President Obama is committed to Africa, is committed to the Middle East peace process, and is committed to better relations between the United States and the Muslim community after this relations has been damaged in 2001 with the 9/11 attacks. And these were very highly felt in his emotional speech in Al-Azhar University, and that was at the beginning of the campaign. But moving along, and while with the economic and financial crisis striking the United States and many parts of Europe, and with the changing atmosphere in the dynamics of the negotiations related to the Middle East peace process, and with the increasing number of problems in the African continent that required a lot of attention in many other spheres, I think his attention has already been diversified into many issues. And we hope that in the second term, if he's going to be re-elected, that he will be able to pull again this kind of support into the African continent and into the Middle East peace process at the same time.
Now have somebody where American reputation were going down to just come. You got Bin Laden, you got Zawahiri, you got all these top, people that people could never ever get. He got them like this with strategy, and the economy is doing better. And he saved some banks. He take a bet. He saved some of these car manufacturing companies, and he's a progressive still fine. He's doing good. So, and internationally, America got is a stage now where everybody love America again. So, in the end of the day, let's just go with the flow. You do what you do it better, but don't let that be for you a barrier. If the barrier come and that is raised, even if you know it is raised, now you find a strategy to fight that barrier.
It's difficult because everybody is seeing their own interests. Everybody want to defend his own interests. I give you an example. You go to one family, you ask the family have like 7 kids. Even though some elders or some youngest are doing better than each one, when you ask them who want to be the president of the country, in the family first, you won't see nobody who can say, let us take the eldest because he know better than us. Everybody going to say me. So how we can help ourselves in that way?
Definitely. There's a lot of things we can do to change. First of all is to have a leader. Somebody that is an African that can come and say, I'm running for public office. And then that will elevate other people to know that somebody, the whole African will say, you know what? Oh, we have somebody from our own running. And then he will come and talk to the people and tell them, say, these are the benefits that you people know, that you people can get or have been getting, but you don't know that you can get more if you participate.
The past president, like Clinton and President Bush, they put together the initiative of AGAO, which is African Growth Opportunity. Yes. Then Bush was really concerned with the HID and also with the aid, and that was towards their first year. That was what they did, and right now I did not see any major thing that the president has done. And what I would like him to do is to reconsider or visit Africa with some of business executives and investors to travel to more than 20 African countries and also to support Africa that is the best place for business.
So far, the Obama administration helped to restore democracy in Ivory Coast, assisted in the creation of the new state of South Sudan, and currently backing stability efforts in Somalia and engaging young African leaders. The administration should help endangered African countries trapped under the boots of dictators by giving more support to uproot dictatorship in Africa. The continued stay in power by such characters like Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe makes a mockery of democracy in a continent that gave birth to Obama's father. Africans may blame Obama for not helping to alleviate many of their problems, but the truth of the matter is that many of them don't understand the limits of his power. There is a lack of understanding both of how the system of checks and balances works or doesn't work any longer, and a lack of understanding of how big the socio-economic problems in the United States are. Many in Africa would like to see Obama win a second term, though they feel he has not lived up to their expectations. In the final analysis, African immigrants in the United States are expected to vote en masse for Barack Obama as he seeks to renew his mandate for president. After all, voting behavior is more emotional than rational.